So my name is Helen and I am the Playtime Coordinator for Care for the Family. And I have to say, I think I have the best job for Care for the Family, but others probably will disagree. But today I'm going to be looking at the incredible impact that parent and toddler groups have on our churches in our communities. And as I've run groups myself over the years and supported hundreds of toddler groups around the country, I've had the privilege of seeing firsthand how toddler groups can bring people together and can create a sense of community, and I'd love to see toddler groups in every community up and down this country. So whether you're already running a group, or maybe you're thinking of starting one, or like Mel has just started one, you're very welcome, and I do hope that you get inspired by this session. So let's look firstly at why a toddler group is so beneficial to our communities. Well, research shows that church-based toddler groups are key to communities, and I'm going to give you a flavour of some research. So toddler groups open up opportunities for churches to reach families in their communities, and in 2020, Hope UK, Evangelical Alliance and Church of England did some research and found that 62% of families interviewed were attending toddler groups and describe themselves as fringe families. So those that didn't maybe regularly attend, but attended groups like Messy Church, toddler groups and preschool groups. And of those fringe families, 45% of themselves called themselves had no religion. But isn't it interesting that they come along to either a church service or a Sunday worship, but yet 25 of those unreached families, those who never attended toddler groups or church, are open to receive an invitation to church activities. It's just like what Rick was saying this morning, it's that invitation. So this shows that there is a great opportunity for churches to reach out into their communities. So secondly, research shows that toddler groups have a significant impact on the children. These groups provide key values and structures to help children be more school ready, have better social skills and be more confident and independent. They also provide a vital, safe and nurturing environment for children to socialise, play and learn, and for parents and carers to find new connections with relationships and friendships, but we'll talk about that a bit later on. So the Royal Foundation Centre for Early Childhood was set up by Her Royal Highness the Princess of Wales, and that focuses on the youngest in society, on families, on addiction and mental health, to alleviate the status of the early years to its rightful place in society. And Her Royal Highness says, what we experience in our early years from conception to the age of 5 shapes the developing brain, which is why positive physical, emotional and cognitive development during this period is so crucial. It is a time when the building blocks are established, laying foundations that help provide greater resilience to deal with future adversity. Toddler groups create opportunities to help combat social isolation, support those with mental health challenges, teach new skills, create new friendships, walk alongside the weary, give support and advice, show the love of Jesus, and create a safe space where people feel they belong. The Royal Foundation also says that science also tells us that a child's experiences from conception through their first 5 years will go on to shape their next 50 years. And it tells us that the kind of children we raise today will reflect the kind of world we will live in tomorrow. It tells us that investing in the start of life is not an indulgence, but economically, socially and psychologically vital. It's absolutely vital to a prosperous society. And the poverty crisis has also had a huge impact on families. Ellie Gardner from Kids Matters says so many families we support are at breaking point. Poverty has had impact on parents' abilities to manage stressful events and can make good family functioning and strong parent-child relationships difficult. The local church is in a unique position to be able to reach the most vulnerable children and support them. One strategic policy goal from the British Academy Independent Review is to strengthen and expand community-led social infrastructure that underpins the vital services and support structures needed to enhance local resilience, particularly in the most deprived areas. When so many of our statutory services are struggling to meet society's demands and have lengthy waiting lists, the government recognises that there is a need for community-led groups, like toddler groups, to support these services. So toddler groups open opportunities for churches to reach families in their communities. Toddler groups have a significant impact on the children, and finally, toddler groups can have a safe haven for families and provide that crucial support. So in 2004, it was a pivotal moment in my life which unfolded. After welcoming my fourth baby into the world, I felt myself entering into postnatal depression. It was a bewildering experience, for how could I feel how I felt when I was surrounded by my church family and friends? But you know, depression, however, possesses a power that transcends circumstances. I felt like the smallest, the loneliest person in the world. And in that darkness, I reached a realisation, a profound truth, that I needed support beyond the confines of my immediate family. I yearned to share my emotions with others who could truly empathise with me and understand that roller coaster of emotions that plagued my days. And so I decided to venture across the road and step into the nearby toddler group. Preparing for that journey consumed me for days. As I tended to my crying baby, the feeding, the changing, the wiping the sick off my shoulder, changing my top, I could feel that weight of anxiety mounting. Doubt was creeping in. Was it now too late to leave the house? With every ounce of strength I could muster, I took a deep breath, turned the handle of my front door, and with each step across that road, a battle raged within me, tempted me to stay inside the retreat of my home, but I persisted. I stepped through the door of the group and ventured forth. Yet, to my dismay, there was no warm greeting awaiting me on that other side. So, seeking solace in a quiet corner, I found a seat, and desperately yearning for someone to come speak to me, just even to acknowledge my presence. The minutes dragged on, stretching into an eternity that weighed heavily on me. Alone, tears rising in my eyes, I fought to hold them back, but in that moment, my spirit was crushed. My sense of worth had evaporated, and the sense of hopelessness engulfed me. I got up and I went home. Nevertheless, I refused to surrender to the bitter disappointment. I allowed my experience to become a catalyst for transformation. I was determined to create that space where no one would feel like I felt when I walked into that toddler group. I needed to build a community where the very essence of welcome would radiate through its core. So passion shot through my veins, and I embarked on the journey of starting my very own toddler group. A haven of warmth, love and support. Though I doubted my strengths and my abilities to do it, that my heart burned with that desire to make to make no one feel like I felt. I didn't set out to change an entire community, as that would have been a bit overwhelming. But my aspirations were about making a difference, one family at a time. And it was not only my life that changed that day, but the course of an entire community. And through the dedication of countless individuals, Noah's Ark has transformed many lives. And 20 years later, that group is still going strong. And it has built on its humble beginnings because I stepped out. I recently came across a small toddler group in a local town that impacted someone else's life in the most incredible way, and I just want to share that with you now. In her despair, a lady named Emily found herself in the midst of a battle in her own mind. The weight of her struggles bore heavily upon her shoulders, leaving her on the edge of a decision that would alter her life forever. With her toddler nestled in her buggy, she strolled aimlessly along the banks of a river, each step resonating with the burden she carried. As the sunlight flickered on the surface of the river, casting beautiful colours along her path, Emily's mind teetered on the edge of desperation. Thoughts of hopelessness consumed her, and the river's gentle whispers seemed to beckon her in an escape from all her pain. And just as she was about to surrender to that torment, in the corner of her eye she noticed a weathered sign. With colourful letters and inviting images, it read, "Welcome to our toddler group." A moment of curiosity ignited Emily's heart. Could there be a glimmer of hope? As Emily approached the group, she was greeted by a warm embrace. An embrace she'd not felt for an awfully long time. Parents came alongside her, kind and compassionate, where she felt loved and accepted. For the first time in a very long time, she was not alone. And that toddler group became a pillar of strength for her. And in the weeks that followed, she felt the weight of her anguish diminish, and that place became her sanctuary. Never underestimate the impact of having visual signs outside toddler groups and churches that they can have. We never know who will see them just at that right time. That sign was life-changing for Emily and her family. So why don't we just now go into twos, maybe threes, and discuss the impact. I don't know whether you run a toddler group, but the impact that your toddler group has had on individual families that attend your groups, or even the impact on your volunteers. And then we can feed back to each other. Let's have that in 5 minutes.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
She didn't know anything.
Oh yeah, right, yes.
Sorry, she's been
Oh, right, I think Rebecca and I tried to vote in the hall, so we do like a talk in another hall. And the community centre. In that room, there's a toilet, so the church do it.
Yeah.
They have about 50 kids.
Oh God. I know they're doing it for both. Yeah, I like on that one.
I thought so.
Then I left and I ran one in.
Oh, right, yeah.
I did 6 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Especially with them. 5 weeks. Which is good.
Yeah, but
Is she?
So,
Oh, well, that's good.
and what you find that everything comes to them are grandmothers.
Our
around.
Toddler's group.
Yeah.
Grandmothers
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
I always want to stay in the girl. And what I like to go, the chairs are each side of the room, but it works better if you can't in two, because then the mothers or carers,
Come together.
yes, because there's separation things like that. They make sure to write everyone that goes carers, and I say you go off carers, I say it to everyone. And the church, yeah, you took it, that's a good thing. But we're not Catholic, so I get a
I
welcome.
thought we would come
Yeah, because we can sort of say, because you have to talk to everyone.
Which is great.
Yeah, nobody's.
And we're not
Like, I haven't seen them all. It's on, it's on. Because you didn't say a little bit away. You know, you just said, yes. Yes.
Growing up,
Yes.
And that's a bit like,
the church.
Yeah.
Which is helpful, so a lot of people find out about social media.
And
You're
yes.
seeing we're starting to report to grow that
Yes.
first, and then maybe with a child.
So
Get some
it's-
close.
Oh, absolutely.
giving
I
her,
think,
that's what's happening down here, wasn't it? Now she's fine.
yeah, you're right.
But now we have 25. Okay, should we come back together?
And
Does anybody want to share just some impact on families that your toddler groups had, or that you'd like to share? Or on volunteers maybe?
Sorry, what was your question again?
The impact on individual families or on the volunteers that the toddler groups had.
We shared more of experience, I think. So I was saying I've got a little one, and I found them really helpful just to kind of get other mums around you. Like I was a first time mum, and then I've started toddler group as well, as you mentioned earlier, and seeing how it affects them. So over 9 weeks, I think we've been doing it now. We've developed it from 7 families to 25, but we also don't have the same people come in. So it's whether they bring their friends or not, or it's whether how you spread the word. And
that's right.
so they always come in 2s normally or more, but those 2s are now 3s because it's getting out more and more, and they're bringing their friends, and which is lovely. And you have smaller communities at the moment, but I was saying I wonder if it'll become more of a bigger community. Who all know each other, hopefully. That's the hope, isn't it? That actually they all become one unit as such. But I think when you're starting out, people are just exploring and seeing if it's for them, aren't they? It seems like. But just, we haven't had any personal individual stories, but we have had one person who is now a volunteer, and she's got...
Wow, already?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
And she's got twin boys. I don't know how she does it. She's amazing. She just doesn't stop, I think. But she wants to help out, so that's
brilliant.
That's great.
That's great after 9 weeks.
Yeah.
Great. How about anybody else?
Well, I'm starting a toddler with a lady in church, and I'm really worried about it. We talked about that, didn't we? Because it's not the toddler group that I went to, because it's a different word, isn't it? Because I'm old. But I think the needs are there for parents, the same needs are there. But I'm still nervous about it, really nervous about it. But I think it's a terrible thing, a really sad thing. If a church in today's society, we should all have a toddler group. We've always had that. I think
Can
it's
you come
absolutely...
alongside me with my
I think I'm horrified that we haven't got one. In our church, we've always had one. They just folded and they didn't tell anybody. So 2 oldies have taken it over, and which is ridiculous, really. Because we started as our own, taking our own children.
Can I just say that when we start, you say about a toddlers group with 2 oldies, all right? We started a toddler group in Llankavella, and we have, when the young carers were coming in, oh gosh, look at these. But we were very fortunate. There's one mum had a little boy, he's now 2, and she's got another little boy. Well, the first child she had christened in Llansamlet. Now the second child she's going to have christened in Llankavella. But we've had quite a diverse group. Another little one of our children has gone to really, really heavy heart surgery in Bristol. And a lot of the they either talk to Wendy or I, but they like the support they get from us, and when they come in, every one of them gets a welcome.
Yes.
We make sure that everyone is welcome, even the little ones. We've had two young children who were very bad ADHD, and the mums were getting quite anxious about bringing these young people because the ball pit would just be and they thought, oh, we can't come. But they kept on coming, which was lovely, and they got a lot out of what we had to offer. Even we are old. And we do have a lovely stories and interactive stories. So I think we can give ourselves a tap on the back.
Absolutely. And you have time to give.
Yes.
You haven't got to.
It's only been going 2 years.
2 years we've been doing it.
2 years.
And what I find is the mothers come until they're about a year old, then the mothers go back to work. So it's usually the grands that come.
Yes.
And I think the grands
That's what we have.
would, no, but I think they would sort of interact with us more than the mothers would, you know, because we're older. So I think, I don't think you can be too old to do a mother and daughter group.
No,
No, definitely not.
So
Definitely not.
Not at all.
You're just a nan instead of a mum now, so.
And I think like you have different aims as well. So for me, okay, yes, I love the idea of it being a part of the community, but it is personal as well. Like I'm developing my people. You know, I'm getting some of my friends come along with their little ones who have just not long had them. So it's about that friendship side of it for me. And that your aim is going to be completely different to mine in some ways.
Yes,
That's
right.
Yeah,
That's right.
But we did
They both
message.
bring something to it.
We did
Yeah.
one session of Messy Church, and we had good attendance, didn't we? And there was this one little boy, Elijah. He said to me, "Are you a nana?" And I said, "Well, yes, I am a nana." And now, what does Elijah call me?
Because of Nana.
I'm nana.
I'm Nana Mai as well.
And he tells everybody he has 3 nanas,
Oh.
and I'm included in that. So
Yes, absolutely. So let's move on to explore the impact of running a toddler group on our churches.
Excellent. Yeah.
So toddler groups create the opportunity to connect with many young families in our community by supporting them in the early parenting journey and building meaningful connections with them. And a report was published last year called "Do We Need a New Plan for Children's Ministry?" And it's based on research done in Brazil, Canada, the UK and the US in latter pandemic stages. And it makes for a really interesting read because one of the main headlines states that the thing Christian parents reported as most beneficial during the pandemic were informal relational connections. They didn't speak about the resources that were provided or the online services, but about relationships. And of course, for toddler groups, it's the relational connections that mean so much. Yes, the activities and the songs and all the things that you do at a toddler group are important, but what stands out are the relationships, that sense of belonging for families. So it's not just between the toddler group leaders and those who attend, but it's about those who attend and the connections that they make as well. So it's so rewarding to see friendships that develop and see your mums and dads supporting one another. One toddler group from our Facebook group that I run recently shared when I asked them the impact that their toddler group had. They said this: "We have a mum who came with a very damaged past. When she needed someone to take her to the dentist and look after her child whilst she had her teeth removed, I and the parents she met at the group were on her very short list of people to ask. She'd never spent any time away from her child, and she trusts us enough to ask for our help. She's also started coming to church social events, and she said she's never felt so welcomed and loved by anyone before." There's a sort of thread going through here, isn't there? And then Shona says, "Seeing the mums support each other and care for other children like they are their own. 2 families do alpha, and then they want more. Hearing the toddlers is a priority in families' weeks, that the church has accepted them, that that they view the church as extended family. The church hall is now referred to as Shoners, as in we're going to Shoners. The children all link that I live there, it seems, as they get rather upset when I'm not at other community events in the hall. But it also enables us as churches to continue relationships with families past the early years. There is a long-term potential of fostering ongoing relationships with families as their children grow older and they continue to be involved in the life of the church through church programmes such as children's ministries, youth groups and family events. And I just want to share a story from my own toddler group. So Laura and Daisy, they came to my toddler group when Daisy was 1.5 years. Daisy had additional needs and found that the toddler group gave her the support and friendship that she needed. And Laura, the mum, became involved with volunteering at the group and then attended a bereavement service we planned for those who had lost a baby at any stage. And this was her first time that she had attended a church service and was overwhelmed by the love and care that she was shown. She connected into our Sunday services, and Laura and Daisy have now been baptised. Daisy is now 18 and still very much connected into all the church activities. Isn't that amazing? So toddler groups also provide church members with opportunities to get involved in supporting, mentoring and engaging young families. Team members support families practically and emotionally by helping with meals and support when a parent maybe has a new baby, or coming alongside someone through a bereavement, or just being there on the roller coaster of the early years of parenting. They also support them spiritually as they share their faith with families through the activities they do or sharing their own faith journey with them. And here are some other messages I've received which talk about the little wins that groups have. And Helen says, several mums who came to Toddlers years ago who had faith but hadn't been to church in years, one is now a pivotal part of our church leadership team and another got baptised on Sunday. Praise God. Another has been a leader of our toddler group since her own children were little, and she now runs the over 60s lunch club. The whole church continues to be blessed by what happens on a Wednesday morning. And Rebecca shares, being asked to pray for the big and the little stuff in our family's lives, children asking to sing worship songs at home, mums starting to explore faith, etc. to the wider church family, has really helped our whole church to be more missional, even if they're not directly involved in our baby toddler ministries. So I hope that you found those quotes really encouraging. I know that I did. So let's talk about faith. So introducing children to faith-based teachings and values at a very early age can also have a profound impact in long-lasting on their lives. By nurturing their spiritual development at toddler groups, we lay the foundation for a lifelong journey of faith, character and purpose. See, toddler groups that incorporate faith not only instill important beliefs and values, but also foster a sense of belonging, community and moral guidance. The generational potential of faith in toddler groups extends beyond the individual child. It influences the family unit as parents and caregivers are encouraged to actively engage in child's spiritual growth. And this ripple effect continues as children grow, influencing their peers, future generations and society at large. We're now going to watch a short Christian toddler group in their church grew the church 30% with young families. It is a homegrown video, so just bear with it.
In September 2017, Christchurch Walsall launched its intentionally Christian baby toddler group. For no time at all, it had 35 to 40 children each week coming along, plus the carers. While our initial intention was for the church to connect with young families, the reality is that we connected with whole families across generations, resulting in young families, as well as grandparents, aunties and uncles and others, joining our church family, becoming believers, and joining in with the ministry and mission of the church. As a direct result of this ministry, we have family and extended family members who have come to know Jesus and have joined our worship group, our refreshments and cleaning teams, and have become size people and taken on roles and responsibilities, including preaching, leading services in local care homes, winding the church clock, health and safety officer, ECC secretary, and of course our new baby and toddler group leader. Many of our families have also joined us for our special family events and services, including Easter, Harvest, Christmas and more. They've led songs and Christmas carols at the front of church and at community events, as well as becoming regular members of our worshiping community. One great thing to come out of our group is that it gives folk a chance to share what's going on in their lives, and for members of the team to pray with them, or to put them on our prayer chain if they want. No one has ever refused prayer, and many people have come back to us and told us how prayers have been answered, and to thank us. The priest going along to the session has proved invaluable. Not only does it say we love you, but it also gives folk a chance to talk about baptisms, dedications and weddings, and so the number of pastoral services in the parish has increased. From starting the baby and toddler group, our average Sunday attendance increased by 30%, and the number of understandings attending Sundays doubled. Our baby and toddler group has brought its challenges too, but nice ones, including making us think about how we worship on Sunday with so many children, and with so many previously non-church people joining us. We did this by developing our all-age worship and a separate children's church 2 Sundays a month. Baby and toddler group has significantly changed our church, how we do church, the size and the average age of our church family, and how our community views us. We've become the hub of our community again. But it's also helped us to start a relationship and faith journey with the children, many of whom look forward to seeing us in school assemblies and our e-lessons, as well as looking forward to coming into our church building for our e-lessons and school services. If you're wondering whether to be bold and start a distinctly Christian baby and toddler group, the church family at Christchurch Walshaw would shout, "Why would you not?"
Now that's just one toddler group in one church. Can you imagine if that was every church across this land? It would be amazing, wouldn't it? You know, I just want to inspire you today, that I know many of you are running groups, but I just want to say, you know, keep going. You know, what you're doing is so important in the lives of so many families throughout this land. But I also feel that maybe some of you might be thinking, oh, but we haven't got enough volunteers, I'm not an upfront person, I don't have a creative mind, our church doesn't support the work maybe, I'm shy, I don't have the confidence. Well, let's look at a couple of what reasons, you know, at starting a group. So, have a vision. Playtime has actually created, and you can find this on the Care for the Family website, a resource called Journeying Together. And in the first session, it talks about the importance of vision. And the resource allows you to gather together as a team and to discuss this as a team together. And each vision will be different because your community and your needs will be different, but it just allows discussion and your team to come together and share what they would like for a toddler group in your community. Number 2 is to have the vision. Share the vision with your church and also with possible volunteers. Pray with your church and pray with the volunteers. Prayer changes things, and if you're passionate like I was, it will happen. And another session with the Journeying Together resource is called How to Work Well Together as a Team. And that just really helps you look at your different roles and responsibilities within the team, and just learn together on what you can do that's good in your sphere of skills, and how you can use that and bring that into your groups. And then the third thing is intentionally implement the vision. So I would say start small. It's not about cramming in as many families into a venue. It's about the one-to-one relationships that you build up over time. And since COVID, obviously during COVID all the groups finished, apart from obviously if you went online. But since coming back, one thing I have heard over and over and over again is we're starting small, because we want to make intentional relationships with families. And that is obviously, that's been over and over again on my Facebook, and when I ring people and as I share to people, that is just coming through. Start small. So start small. So just to end, I want to tell you about a conversation I had. I was talking to a toddler group leader about the impact of visiting a toddler group had on her own faith and on her whole family, and how she is now impacting her own church community, and she just shared this. I started going to toddler groups with our first child. I went to a lot, mostly because they were cheap. The ones I liked the most were the church ones, and at the time I couldn't have told you why, other than they were nicer in some way. And at the time, in my early 30s, I had no faith, having turned my back on God at 17. I loved one group in particular. The women were so kind and they loved my children. And around the time I was pregnant with my second child, I noticed a sign on the hatch that was put out every time it was tea and coffee time. The sign was advertising and inviting us to an all-age service that was held once a month. I'd love to tell you that I responded immediately to this sign, but I didn't. It took around 18 months of this sign staring at me and probably following her around the room. But it wasn't a nice, pleasant feeling that she said that she can assure you. Well, the pressure built up, and one day I caved. I went home and I told my husband that he needed to come to a church service with me. He had no particular faith, but was always supportive. So said okay, but just this once. It was a big deal, getting ready to go to that service, and I know how that felt. It was all about I could do for the next few days. We got to the church, we walked through the doors, and I felt like I had come home. A physical weight lifted off my shoulders, and I felt so relieved. As we took a step into the church, one of the ladies who ran the toddler group saw us, ran from the other end of the church, gave me a huge hug and said, "I am so glad you came." It was the start of a journey back to faith, and I have never been so thankful every day for the past 15 years for those wonderful women who faithfully served at that toddler group. I believe toddler groups are crucial to the mission of the church, and we should never underestimate the power of loving and serving families in this way. Oh, and I have to also add, I'm now a vicar, and the toddler group is #1 priority at her church. So I really hope that this talk has inspired you to see the value and the impact that toddler groups can have in our churches and in our communities. Start small, be open and ready to serve families who need that warm welcome. You know, because it will be one of the best decisions you'll ever make.